What is up, friends and RC family? My name is Alec from High Noon Hobby. If you're new to the channel, I appreciate you checking it out, and if you aren't new here, welcome back. This video, we're going to be talking about the important factors, I think the most important factors for an RC comp crawler, and kind of the order that I would put these factors in. So this run is going to be a run of my SCX 10-2 Rock Pirates comp, Class 2 comp rig builds, going through Sand Hollow from our last trip down there. So some nice scenery, and I've decided to leave the audio in from this one and keep it at just regular 100% speed, so that just try something new, see if you guys enjoy that. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you aren't subscribed to High Noon Hobby, please do that. And if you like this video, at the end of the video, wait until the end, but if you like it still at the end, go ahead and give it a like. So let's jump right into it. Alright, let's jump right into this. So I claim to have 4 different kind of key factors that I believe contribute to having a really good RC comp crawler, whether it's Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, it doesn't really matter. I think that the general premise is all the same. Obviously, there's a lot of differences between those classes, but I think that these points that I'm going to bring up stand true to all of them. So the first point that I have, the kind of most important thing, if you will, that I believe is the most important thing, is center of gravity. So having a low center of gravity is going to help tremendously. As you can see in this line that I'm hitting right now, having a low center of gravity allows me to start peeling off the wall, but maintain the truck's composure, get the suspension settled back down, and it will actually settle back down on the wall as opposed to peeling off of the wall. So if you don't have a good low center of gravity, you're going to have troubles getting over steep vertical climbs, but you're also going to have troubles articulating over difficult obstacles without peeling away from them on one side or the other. And so that's kind of my number one. I think that if you start with a low center of gravity, everything else is going to fall into place. In terms of how to get a low center of gravity, or what the best way is to get a low center of gravity, I don't necessarily think that I'm the person to answer that question. I think that that question is probably better suited to someone with more experience than myself. But that being said, I do know that there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat, and I don't necessarily think that there's a wrong way to do it. I've seen people crushing lines in these 10-2 style rigs with Rock Pirates bits. I've seen people crushing lines in G-Speed chassis that are completely and totally designed around being a low center of gravity chassis from the ground up. So I think it's personal preference. I think there's a lot of personal preference that goes into play in terms of how you get a low center of gravity and what different ways you want to do it. I think budget plays into that as well. But generally speaking, I think that low center of gravity is going to be a great foundation for your rig. So if you're looking for a way to get into the comp scene and you have an existing rig like a Axial SCX 10-2, you've got an Element Enduro Ecto or something like that, I would highly suggest looking at the Rock Pirates bits that they've got for sale on their website. I'll throw a link down in the description below. Those are what's on this truck here. They're also on the back of the VS410 Phoenix that I purchased from West Desert Wheeler, and it's incredible what a big difference those little bits make in terms of getting your center of gravity sucked really down low to the ground, and that they improve performance pretty significantly. This section right here, just to take a quick break from the kind of main purpose of this video, I don't make it up this stretch. I left this in here just to show that I am definitely still a newbie driver, and I'm still trying to figure out what is even possible in my rigs. You know, I think it's hard as someone who's new to the hobby to assess lines on really difficult terrain like what I was just on there, and know whether or not you're actually going to be able to achieve it. So that line to me looked fairly doable, but obviously I was missing something there, and I think a lot of that kind of naivety as to whether or not my truck can go up something is in large part due to just my newbiness in this hobby. So please excuse that. If you see me going through Sand Hollow like this in a comp rig that's super capable, and it just doesn't look like I'm pulling off the right lines, it's probably because I'm not pulling off the right lines, and that's not the truck's fault. That's my fault. I'm no Logan when it comes to getting through cool obstacles. I just like to try. All right, with that out of the way, let's get into what I think number 2 is on the list of the 4 different factors. Number 2, I'm going to say, is clearance and droop. I put these two together because I kind of see them as an eye-to-eye type of thing. They're pretty important in relation to one another. So if you are unfamiliar with one term or the other here, clearance, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. Clearance is obviously, can you clear different things? Or do you high clearance links are going to give you even more clearance underneath. But clearance, generally speaking, just means, can you clear obstacles underneath your truck? Do you have good belly clearance? Do you have sliders that take away a lot of clearance? That's why these Rock Pirates sliders, I think, are so great. They really tuck everything up, and they come with this really interesting coating that slides over stuff super easily. I really like that. I think that those are a good solution. But again, there's a lot of different solutions to tucking up everything in the belly, making sure that you have good belly clearance so that you can clear over high breakover angles and stuff like that. So I think clearance is important. Droop is also important. Droop is going to be a suspension tuning type of deal, and that is essentially how quickly does your tire, or how much resistance does your tire provide when it's being pressed downward. So essentially, as your axle articulates, right, you're pushing up on one tire and the other tire droops down. Or you may not even be pushing up on the other tire, right? It might just be static and the other tire is rolling over like a crevice or something like that. So it's how much that tire is going to want to conform to the ground underneath it. Droop is important as well, and tuning that droop in is what's really important. I've heard a lot of people say that too much droop is a really bad thing, or too little droop is a really bad thing, and I think I agree. The kind of extreme ends of the spectrum for droop don't really allow for a whole lot of performance, whereas if you kind of match them together and you get a good kind of middle ground for droop, you can have a really well performing rig. So number 3, tires and foams. I am not one to really talk on tires and foams on this comp rig. This is running the axial crawlers, super old axial crawlers, and it's running like kind of a hodgepodge of different foams stuffed inside. It performs pretty well, and this is something that has just been trial and error from Luke, or Scumbag RC, who built this rig before me, and then myself as well, kind of figuring out what these tires can do and can't do and how to make them as good as possible. But I still think that getting some Hyraxes, some G8 compounds on there, or something like that with some nice 2-stage foams that are really well thought out in terms of resistance in the foams, I think that's going to go a long way towards making this rig more capable. And then lastly on my list of the 4 different things is going to be electronics. And I put that last because I've seen people take $40 worth of electronics and just destroy everyone in a comp. So I don't think that electronics are necessarily the number 1 thing, or even the number 2, or even the number 3 thing. I think that electronics are important, they play a part, but I think we shouldn't be hung up on what electronics we're putting in a rig, and we should be more focused on these other aspects of suspension tuning, of low center of gravity, trying to get that weight down low, smaller batteries so we can reduce weight up high. I think those are going to be the things that make the bigger difference, and then electronics is something you can think about after the fact that's going to make that extra little difference, especially if you tune your electronics. Whatever electronics you get, tune them. Tune them to how you like to drive, right? If you don't know how to do that, visit your local hobby shop. I'm sure someone there will be able to help you out with that. Okay, I've rambled on. The video's over. I apologize. I thank you very much for watching, though. And again, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to High Noon Hobby for more videos every Friday and Sunday. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.